Tanse, Kapapam and Peminat, Mekasuisquayu, Nitisina Kasan. Hello, my name is Casey Adams, and I'm going to be showing you how to take the clay that you harvested from the land and prepare it for my workshop in the 2021 Nibe Gathering. All right, let's get into it. Now that you've harvested your clay, I'm going to show you some samples that I have collected from different parts of Manitoba. So this piece of clay, you can see that there's a lot of pure clay in here because it's really smooth and dense. I have another piece that I got from Saguin, and if you look really close, and you can feel it too, it has a little bit of a sandy feel to it. So I suspect there is silt and clay and some sand mixed in with this clay. This one I got from near Brandon, and this one is pretty dense with clay, very little silt. There may be some few rocks in here, but that's fine. I'll take care of that and deal with that. And then finally, I have this white clay that I got up in Grand Rapids along the beach line. And this one, if you feel it as well, it's very smooth, really dense. So there's a lot of clay in that. Sorry, okay. The other materials that I need are grandfather rocks that have come from a sweat. So this one is a grandfather rock, and you can see that it's made out of granite, and it has been weathered from sitting out. Well, first it went through that process of being in the sweat lodge, and the water and the intense heat weakened it. And then when they're laying out in the sun and exposed to the snow and water and freezing, etc., it eventually starts to get to the point where it can easily crumble. So this one is ready to be crushed into what we call temper. And I also have sand that I collected from Bel Air Forest. Remember, when you are collecting anything from the land and the waters, that it's important to show reciprocity by taking tobacco and laying it down as an offering. I have this nice rock that I found along the beach, and what I like about it is that I can grind the clay up and the rocks in such a way that I can break the material down. This is the grandfather rocks, and I'm going to take my my crushing rock and just break it up. See how easy that breaks up? And then I'm just gonna roll over it. You can see how small it is, and then you've got some larger pieces. So I wanna break those up. Certainly in the pottery shards that I have come across, I have seen pieces that are this big, but I want to crush that up. All right, the next step is to break apart the clay. This is gonna be harder. I'm gonna break this up into small pieces. I want them to be about this big, I guess.
You want to break up the clay into very small pieces. That way, when you pour water over top of them, they will quickly absorb the water. And you want to pour enough of the nibe into the container so that it's just below the surface level of the clay. Here is a time-lapse video of the clay absorbing that wonderful nibe or water.
This clay has been sitting for about an hour and a half now, and it is ready to be processed. All right, so I'm gonna take this and empty this out.
I need to figure out my ratio for temper, and temper is sand or granite or mollusk shells crushed up to put into the clay to prevent it from shrinking, especially when it dries and when it fires. So it helps with the prevention of shrinking and expanding during extreme heat. So now I'm placing the clay into 3 piles, and the 4th pile is going to be the grandfather stones that I crushed up earlier. And I'm also going to take the sand that I filtered using a strainer just to get out the little rocks and any debris. So I combine those two to make an equal sized pile. So this will be 25% temper and 3/4 out of clay. Once I get my ratios right, I start wedging. And I like to sing a song along with when I'm wedging. And it's a song that was created by Amy Craft, myself, and Sherry Copenes, who gave us the lyrics. So I'm going to sing it here for you. Wabigani Mushagin Hamin Akigog Goishi Hananig Niwawe Ichigamen Wea hey ya hey Wea hey ya yo Ya hey yo Wea hey ya yo Wea hey Wea hey ya yo Wabigani Mushakin Hamen Akigog Goishi Hananig Niwawe Ichigamen. So I've mixed it up really well, and the next step is to add a little bit of water because the clay is just a little dry. So I just pour it onto the board. And if you find that the clay is too wet, all you need to do is just flatten it and lay it out in the sun, and then come back when it's dried out a little bit. And don't worry, you can always add water and wedge the water into the clay like I am doing right now. So now it is perfect. And what I like to do is I like to take some tobacco and add it to the clay. Don't worry, the tobacco will burn out in the firing process, but it's a nice another step to include ceremony into the work. So I'm just going to wedge that tobacco in. It's good if you can break it up into tiny little pieces. While you're working, you might come across some stones or pebbles that are much larger than the temper that we're using, maybe even roots. You want to take that out because we don't want to compromise the clay. Just feel for it while you're working and just take it out. I like to squish it flat like a pancake and just feel if there's any large pebbles and get them out ahead of time. Some tribes, especially in Ontario, put cattail fluff into the clay, especially when there's a large portion of temper, so it can hold together. When it's fired, that gets burnt away and the little pockets are left over. So now I just shape it into a ball, smooth it out, put it into a plastic bag and let it rest until I'm ready to use it.
So this is now ready to be used for the workshop.